Our guest tonight is one of the great stories of persistence and patience and hard work at the Melbourne Football Club. A tough, uncompromising and hard-running midfielder, he was selected by the Demons with pick 27 in the 2018 AFL National Draft out of South Australia. Since making his AFL debut in his first possible game in 2019, injuries initially curtailed his momentum, but through determination and perseverance, he steadily worked his way back into the senior side. Since 2021, he has built a reputation as a selfless, team-first player, doing whatever was required for the side and embracing a variety of roles while learning his craft alongside one of the competition's elite midfield groups. He was a member of our drought-breaking Premiership side in 2021, forever cementing his place in Melbourne Football Club history. In 2026, he has taken his game to another level, becoming one of the Demons' most important and consistent midfielders with his contested ball winning, defensive pressure and relentless work rate around the contest. Welcome to the Demonland podcast, Tom Sparrow.
No, thank you for having me.
Early in your career, you had a few injury interruptions and long periods where you were out of the side. How difficult was that mentally as a young player trying to crack into an AFL team, but physically being unable to show what you could do because you couldn't get onto the park?
Yeah, it was a bit frustrating. Like you mentioned there, I was actually lucky enough to play quite early on in my career. And, shortly after that, I was tore my meniscus. So missed probably, I think it was about 12 weeks in my first year, which wasn't ideal. And then suffered a broken collarbone as well in my next season, which didn't set me out for too long. But it was, something that made it trickier to sort of break into a team that was, already pretty stacked full of good players. So I think it taught me a lot about, persistence and about professionalism as well, and particularly about how important it is to get your body right and be physically capable of taking up to, the best midfielders in the comp and the best players in the comp.
So once you overcame those early setbacks, as you mentioned, you came into a side that had a really established group of midfielders, guys like Nathan Jones, Christian Petrarca, Clayton Oliver, Jack Viney, Angus Brayshaw. As a young player, what was your goal at that stage of your career, and what sort of role did you or 𝗟𝗏𝘀𝘁𝗏 see for you within the team while you were developing your game?
Yeah, I think for me, I was drafted as a midfielder, and I always saw myself as someone who could play that position. And like you've touched on, there were some pretty good players that were, lucky enough to be on my team. But also at the same time, it meant it was relatively tricky to sort of, break past those guys. So I sort of found myself playing, a variety of different roles, which I actually saw as a compliment towards being versatile and the coaches and my teammates having trusted me to play different positions on the ground. But it also meant that when my time came in the midfield, I had to, try and take that opportunity. And, whether I did that or not early in my career, I'm not sure. But I think it's held me in good stead now. And I think now with the opportunity to have some more consistent minutes, I think a lot of those lessons that I learned early in my career and the things that I learned from the such a talented players that we did have really helped me now.
So you played alongside those guys that we've just mentioned, and you would rotate alongside Petrarca, Oliver, Viney. What did you learn most from being in and around the contest with those guys?
I think they all had their own individual strengths. I think Clary, for instance, was just a really hungry ball winner, and he never took a backward step. That's probably one thing that I maybe not learnt off him, but you'd really see the desire needed to, go and win your own footy at times. And he was one I thought that really epitomised that. Jack Viney was an elite tackler, elite pressure player, awesome at stoppages, really strong with his craft around the stoppages. And Christian Track was an elite finisher, and it was really good offensively. And I think 𝗟𝗏𝘀𝘁𝗏 Brayshaw as well was just someone who had great leadership in the midfield, maybe more of a defensive defensive player towards the back end of his career, but I think he really taught me about how to be smart with my running patterns, and he was someone who was a really smart footballer. So I think all those guys, you can sort of take little parts of their game, and I tried to take little parts of their game and implement it into mine, but also at the same time just knowing my own strengths and backing myself in. I think a lot of those guys tried to drive the mental side of the game, which was just believing in myself, and those guys particularly did that. And I think Nathan Jones, someone you mentioned, has really done that this year for me from a coaching perspective. He's really just backed me in, and I think that's been really helpful towards my development.
2021 is obviously a season that will forever hold a special place in the hearts of Melbourne supporters. From securing the minor premiership down in Geelong to the incredible finals run and ultimately breaking the drought with a premiership. How proud are you of what the group achieved and of the role that you played in such a historic period for the club?
Yeah, it's something I'll never forget, that's for sure. And I feel quite privileged to be able to say that I played in a team that's won a premiership, and I think as well at the Melbourne Football Club, since it had been so long since I'd won a premiership, to be able to be part of the team that broke the drought, I was extremely proud of. So yeah, there's a lot of pride there, but at the same time, it's made me realise how hard it is since then. I think I didn't play every game that year. I was in and out of the team. So cracking into that one was tricky. But then the years gone by, you realise, wow, a lot has to come together, and it's, let alone win a premiership, sometimes it's hard to win even games of football. So I think that just makes me more appreciative of that time at the club. But it also inspires me to try and achieve the ultimate success again with what now is a much different group of players. But yeah, like I said, you realise how hard it is, and you also understand the joy that it brings. So I would love to be able to do that again. I think that would just be so special.
We would love it too. As someone who was right there in the thick of it, can you take us inside what, and I like to call this the minute of madness, late in the third quarter of the 2021 Grand Finals? You were in the thick of it. Let me paint a little bit picture, not that I need to for you or for any of our listeners. With just under a minute left in the quarter, the D's were only a goal up. Then Track snaps that incredible dribbler from the pocket with 50 seconds left. The ball goes back to the middle. It spills free from the stoppage. 𝗍ine gets it out to Petrarca. Track fires a handball to 𝗟𝗓, who bursts clear towards goal. And as the pressure comes, 𝗟𝗓 dishes over the top to a 21-year-old Tom Sparrow standing right on 50 straight in front. You've got opponents closing from every direction, but with barely a second to steady your launch from 50 off one step, and T-Mac gives it the perfect shepherd through the goals. And suddenly there's 30 seconds left. The ball's back in the middle again. Another clearance. 𝗍ine drives it forward. Jackson gathers cleanly off the deck with 𝗍ine and 𝗟𝗓 streaming past. He handballs over the top, and 𝗟𝗓 launches another one from long range that sails through. Bang, 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 bang. 3 goals in about 35 seconds. The D's had gone from a goal up to 24 points clear at three-quarter time, and the whole momentum of the grand final had completely shifted. And as a supporter, I've genuinely never seen anything like it. And it's almost changed the way that I think about time in footy, because now I realise that it's entirely possible for 3 goals to be kicked in under a minute. What was it like being part of a chain of play and that explosion of footy? And then what do you remember about the feeling in the huddle afterwards, knowing that you're still 1 quarter away from making history?
Yeah, I think initially the first thing that comes to mind, I think, is I believe the backs were telling the mids to just settle down. I think coming into maybe after Track's goal or maybe after mine, I'm not exactly sure, but I think they just wanted to shut it down, and they're happy to just get another stoppage and we'll just see it out to the end of the quarter. And I think obviously I wasn't at the centre bounce, but I was watching from the top of the 50, and I think the guys in the middle just said, "Nah, let's stuff that. Let's go again." And I actually think if if you watch it again after Clary's goal, it almost comes out the front one more time, and there's not much time on the clock left. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just one of those instances where we had a whole heap of momentum, and it just kept. You can't put it down to one thing, and it just sort of guess the guys in the midfield were just in a bit of flow state at centre bounces, and they could see the numbers falling from the sky, and everything was just happening perfectly for them. And it was pretty cool to be a part of that and be on the ground at the time. But then, like you said, coming in at 3/4 time, we realised it's easy enough for the opposition to get momentum as well. So, yeah, we recognised that, and I think we kicked the first goal in the last quarter as well, and I think that really just sort of cemented the momentum of the game. And it probably wasn't until maybe 5 or so minutes to go in the last quarter where we actually realised, this is wrapped up. And it felt like we just kept playing, kept going moment after moment, contest after contest, and we were really focused at 3/4 time on just having a quick start to the next quarter, and we definitely knew that we were capable of winning this game, and that's what happened.
What do you remember about your goal that you kicked then? Because as I was watching it again yesterday, coming up with your question, I could see there was 4 guys, 2 in front, 2 behind you, coming directly at you, and you kicked it off one step.
Yeah, well, I remember particularly the way the Bulldogs played was that I think I was on Caleb Daniel potentially at the centre bounce, and they would always press on if anyone came out the front of the stoppage. So I knew, once the mids had won the ball, that my opponent was likely going to press and I would be free. So it was just whether I got in the right spot to receive the ball. And I think after that, I don't remember a whole heap. I can't actually picture the guys closing in around me and all that sort of stuff. I just remember receiving the ball and, sort of, I guess, playing on instinct and just having a shot. And I'm very thankful for Tom McDonald as well, just for bench pressing. I think it was 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝘁𝗃 on the line.
Yeah.
So I think I also think on the vision there's potentially even opportunity. I could have given it back to Clary, and in his goal, the same thing had happened. It could have easily been another handball out as well. I think my man pressed again. So that was just sort of the way they played. It meant that I just had to be ready to, fan out the space and be ready to receive a handball. And then from there, it was just, I guess, back my instincts in, and I got it right that time.
Simon Goodwin coached you from your debut in 2019 right through until the back end of 2025. So he's obviously been a major influence on your entire AFL journey. What did Goody impart to you both as a coach and as a mentor that has helped shape your development as a player and your game over the years?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to my mind, and it was one of the first things he taught the younger players when I got in, was to develop elite habits. I think that was something that he really drived and wanted to have instilled in the young players coming through the program was, get your habits right. That'll set you up for your career. And so whether that's, with how you train, your training intensity, sleep, nutrition, all these sort of things, how you prepare, all your recovery and all that sort of stuff. He was really big on that. So he really drove that and wanted to make sure the young players got the best out of themselves in that way. But I also think that Goody, he really backed in a lot of his players, and I was one of them. I think he really, backed me in to play a variety of roles. He valued the team over self, so that was something that he would double down on a lot. Is just making sure whatever we're doing is best for the team. But yeah, like you said, he was there at the start of my career, and had him for 7 years as a senior coach. So he played a massive impact on me and my development, and so as a few other people as well with Choco in the development space too. So I think those guys have really helped me improve, definitely.
Sometimes a fresh coaching voice can really change the way that players feel and perform. A number of the boys have spoken this year about the freedom and confidence that Stephen King has given the group to back their instincts and not fear making mistakes. And from the outside, a lot of players seem to be thriving with that mindset. What's it been like for you personally playing under a new coach this season, and has that freedom helped bring out your best footy?
Yeah, it's been good. I think our form has shown that it's stacking up. But I think for me, Kingy instilled a lot of belief in the players initially. I think, and two, I think the players credit I think everyone's just bought into what he had to say. He's changed a bit about how we play and our identity from what he used to be with Goody. And a lot of the guys, I think, have just bought into that. I think he wanted to be a more attacking team. He wanted to be a team that just plays in formation and doesn't really have too many concrete roles, and we just sort of, play the game as we see fit. If mistakes are going to happen, and we'll just keep playing and keep backing ourselves in. So I think a new voice has definitely changed the way we've played, and I think it's allowing guys to, back themselves in, play with a bit of freedom and fluidity, and play on instinct as well. I think that's really brought the best out of a lot of guys. I think one in particular, I think 𝗟𝗲𝗀𝗁𝗀 has been really, really good for us this year, and I think he's just thrived with freedom and having a consistent role, and I think he's been really great for us. I could name off probably 10 other blokes who are probably in career best form, which I think is not going unnoticed externally, and we're valuing that so high internally as well. I think a lot of the guys are really enjoying the opportunities they're getting and enjoying the way that Kingy is allowing us to play.
With the departure of Track and Clary this year, the opportunity opened up for others to take on greater midfield responsibility, and you've really grabbed that chance with both hands. This season, you've taken your game to another level, becoming one of Melbourne's most important and consistent midfielders through your contested ball winning, that defensive pressure we saw on the weekend, and your relentless work rate around the contest. A lot of supporters feel that talent and attributes were always there, but in previous years you were often playing shorter stints through the middle rather than getting the continuity in the guts. What do you put your rise in form this season down to?
I think for me, I think just a bit of continuity in the midfield. I think just actually getting week in, week out, consistent minutes in the midfield has really helped me. And I think you just sort of can adapt to the game, and you get a better feel for how the game's going and the teammates around you. I think that's really helped. So just getting consistent minutes in there. But I think as well, I've always known I've had the physical capabilities to be able to play as a midfielder, and I think this year I've had a lot of belief instilled in me from the coaches, particularly Nathan Jones and Kingy, that I am able to do it, and they've just backed me in. I would say my first couple of games of the year weren't how I saw my form being, but I think from there they just backed me in, and that just gave me so much confidence just to play on instinct and play the way that I would just play without having to think. So a couple of things, probably just consistent midfield time, and then just a greater sense of belief from my teammates and coaches that I can do it, and them just backing me in has just given me a load of confidence to go out and perform, not to think too much and just play and put my strengths on show.
Speaking about Nathan Jones, he really seems to be growing in his role as a midfield coach, and Jack Steele has become an important on-field leader, especially with 𝗍𝗀𝗀 being out injured. How influential have those two been, and 𝗍𝗀𝗀 as well, in helping build your confidence and take your game to another level this season?
Yeah, they've been phenomenal. I think Jonesy can be pretty strong with the midfield at times. I think that's great. But he also connects really well with the players too, which I think is great. He gets his message across really well. And I think the pleasing thing for him would be seeing a response from his words. I think that's something that he's given us the feedback on, is whenever he asks us to do something, we really try and get that done for him. So he's been really great. And he's really super consistent with his messaging week in, week out. So we know what works and what doesn't, and what we need to do to get back to our best if things aren't going so well. But yeah, he's been great for me so far, and I'm sure, and for the other midfielders in the room. 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗁𝗀𝗁 has been quite good, I think, as well. He's another senior voice, obviously previously a captain at 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗁𝗀, but he's a hard worker as well. So really honest player, tough around the ball, and will just give his all. So I think he's been really great as well, and particularly at the start of the year when I probably wasn't in the best form, but he was doing a lot of the grunt work in there, and showing the competition that he's such a great midfielder. I think that was really pleasing to see, and I think that would have given him a lot of belief about his position, and we really value him as a teammate.
And you're turning 26 in a couple of weeks, and with the side fielding a bit of a younger group over the recent weeks, have you found yourself naturally stepping into more of a mentoring or leadership role around the club, particularly with some of the younger midfielders coming through? And is captaincy something you ever aspired to down the track?
I was actually having this conversation with a few of the guys in the spa today about being more of a senior player. I don't feel like I'm a senior player. Like I think when I got to the club, obviously I was 18. I think Vines was 25, so my age now.
Yep.
And I looked up to Vines. I think he's a senior player, captain, star of the competition sort of thing. But I still feel like I'm one of the younger guys at the club. But obviously that's not the case anymore. But yeah, I think naturally as you get a bit older, you start to become more of a mentor. And I think more from anything, it's more that just people watch what you do. And so I think for me, it's about just trying to be a good role model with how I act around the club, whether that's training with real purpose and intensity, and in the weight room as well, but also on the field trying to lead by example. I think that's probably my strong suit. I think in terms of leadership. In terms of captaincy, I mean, I haven't really given much thought to it, to be honest. I think it would be a privilege to be able to do that, and we'll have to. Only time will tell if it comes to fruition. But for me, it's just about trying to set a good example for the younger guys at the club, and just trying to be a good role model for people. I guess, that's all I can say, really. I think if I just do that, then everything else will take care of itself.
I don't think many D's fans, and certainly not many in the wider footy world, could have foreseen the rise of the D's this season at 7-3. Have you surprised yourselves a little with how quickly things have come together? And do you feel that this group now genuinely believes it can match it with the best sides in the competition? I mean, we've seen it already with some of the scalps we've taken, but going forward deeper into the season.
I don't think I'm surprised. I don't think, because and I sort of speak on behalf of the players, I think we had such great belief in the way we played all summer, and I don't think anyone really had any doubts. It's weird to say that now, but everyone had just bought in 100% over the pre-season, and I think the way we'd trained and a few of the practice matches as well had gone pretty well. I think the general feel around the club was, I think we're going to surprise a lot of people, like a lot of people on the external. So for me, I probably wasn't too surprised about our form. I think this is the way we've been training for all summer, and now we've done it for most of the season. I think we've still got things to improve, which I think is really great. Like if you were 7-3 and you couldn't have played any better, then maybe it's a different story. But I think we still have room to improve. I think there was a couple of even the West Coast game, like we won and that was great, but I think it probably wasn't a 4-quarter performance that we were after. So there's still such growth for this group, and I think that's the most exciting and motivating part about where we're at is just, the room that we have to grow is only going to make us better as a team. So, the answer to your question, I'm not too surprised with how we're going.
Well, Tom, I just want to thank you for your time today. It's been a real pleasure watching your journey and seeing the way that your career has developed over the years. And no matter what the future holds, you'll always have a place in the history of the Melbourne Football Club as a Premiership player and part of the team that broke the drought. Best of luck for the rest of the season. The group is playing some fun, exciting, dangerous footy at the moment. It's been fantastic seeing you take the game to another level and become such an important part of what this team is building. Thanks again, Tom Sparrow.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.